Let us begin a press conference by Edgars Rinkēvičs, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Latvia, and the UK Brexit Minister David Davis. And the floor goes to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Dear representatives of mass media, I'm really happy to see all of you here and so many of you. I would like to briefly inform about the talks that we had this morning with Mr. Davis, the Brexit Minister of the UK government. I have to say that this is a continuation of our previous discussions, because 10 days ago I met Mr. Davis in London during my visit there, and we discussed the decision of the UK government on Brexit and the official notification to the EU with regards to the invocation of Article 50 that is forthcoming. We have already exchanged our views, and I can repeat that in our interest, in the interest of Latvia, is to ensure that the UK and EU negotiations are as constructive as possible, as emotionless as possible, and we will negotiate considering the solidarity of the 27 EU member states, which means that there'll be a common position. But of course, we still have special interests that we have discussed with the UK side as well as with the EU, namely the status of our nationals in UK, because we believe that it has to stay as it used to be, the same as the UK nationals, UK citizens, basically preserving the same legal rights and duties as currently they enjoy. And I believe that our opinions here are exactly the same. Of course, we also discussed financial and budgetary issues. And I have to say that if 10 days ago the British mass media asked me a lot about 60 billion that the UK would have to pay for leaving the EU, and I think that today you will ask how much money Mr. Davis has brought to us in bribes and whatever, then I have to say right away that we have never had these discussions. No money has been brought to us, because we discussed, we spoke about the most rational way of organizing this process, of course considering our interests. And I would like to take that into account, because our interests lie in close trade relationships, easy relationships after Brexit, because we have several sectors that have good export results. Of course, we will take into consideration the common EU position. We will make sure that this position is rational, that there are no wishes, desires, and strivings to punish the British citizens for their choice. And we will also try to ensure that the EU does not lose in these negotiations, that this departure, this divorce agreement is as profitable to both parties as possible. And definitely we have a certain interest to have not only very strong security partnership in the NATO context, but we also have certain interest to ensure that the UK remains a close partner to the EU in various issues. Thus, I would like to reiterate that I'm really happy with the very constructive and good relationships that we currently have between Latvia and UK. This is not the last, and this was not the first meeting, because we will still have 2 years of intensive work in the EU, as well as with regards to the negotiations with UK. And now the floor goes to Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Foreign Minister, for that. After the reporting in London and your comments, I feel like I should be here with a big bag of money, but sadly I'm not. So it's, the discussions we've had, as you've heard, have been very positive. We reiterate, I always reiterate, that our view of how Brexit will happen has to take into account a number of things. Number one, we will continue to be a good global citizen and a good European citizen. So all of the security responsibilities, the defense responsibilities, the intelligence and home affairs, justice responsibilities that we have always maintained in our international stance will continue. And so our help in those areas must be expected to go on, whether it is our forward battalions committed to the various defence arrangements, whether it's the Navy operating in the Mediterranean to help Europe with the migration arrangements, whether it's our intelligence agencies helping the people of Paris, Brussels, Berlin after the terrible terrorist events there. All of that will continue after we have departed. So that's the first thing to say. We intend to continue to do what we do best in the interests of our allies. The second thing to say is that although we're going to be departing from the European Union, we're not going to be leaving Europe. It's not a divorce, it's a new relationship we're looking for. And it's very modern in that respect. We want to see the European Union continue to succeed. We don't just do that in the interest of the European Union, we do it in our own interests. We want to have, in these days of difficult international relations and these days of difficult threats, whether migratory or terrorism threats, or indeed economic threats, we want our neighbour, the European Union, to be powerful, effective, successful, both politically and economically. And we will do what we can to ensure that that happens. Now, in terms of specifics, you divide our discussions to date, I think, into three areas. I mean, firstly, the easy bit, or at least it sounds like it is, on the justice and home affairs front, we want to try and maintain as close an arrangement to what we currently have. We think we provide a good support to Europe, and of course we get good support from the European Union, and that will continue across all of those areas, whether it's on crime and justice and those areas. In terms of economics, we want to achieve, if we can, the most comprehensive free trade arrangement possible. Many people think this is difficult in 2 years. The simple truth is that most free trade arrangements start between countries that are very different, that have different product standards, different arrangements. We don't. We start at exactly the same place. So the really hardest part, the hardest part of a trade arrangement is not a problem for us. And we all have strong interest in that. Latvian companies, Latvian economy has a strong interest in maintaining markets in the UK, and we have a strong interest in maintaining markets here. The third issue, and I think the properly emotional one, actually, is the issue of the treatment of Latvian citizens currently in the UK and the treatment of British citizens in the European Union. We would like to have already resolved this issue. The Prime Minister did raise it at the December Council in the hope of getting a letter of agreement, I think. But for various formal reasons that wasn't possible. But you can take it as read that we will raise it at every council from now on, and it will be at the top of the negotiating list when we actually start the formal negotiations. And I would like to be clear. We want to see the most civilized and the most responsible arrangement possible. We want to see Latvian citizens of the UK have all the rights they have now continue into the future. And that's not just residence rights, that's public services, it's healthcare, it's all the normal rights that we would give our own citizens. So I expect that to be, it's an incredibly important issue. We're acutely conscious of how important it is to the Latvian government, to the Latvian people, and we will take that very seriously. So overarching all of this is we have a tremendously close relationship now with Latvia. We have very similar views. I mean, very often we vote for the same way in the council, in the union as it stands, not just on defence matters, on free trade, on regulatory matters, on market openness and so on. We tend to be in the same place. In the future, we intend to be big champions of free trade. When we're outside the union, we intend to continue to be champions of Western security and Western stability. And so there's every reason for this to be a constructive negotiation aiming at a positive and constructive future. And I think if all of the 27 are like Latvia, we'll have no trouble at all reaching that conclusion.
Paldies. Vai ir kādi jautājumi? Gan jau ir jau.
Thank you. Any questions? Unfortunately, the speaker doesn't use the microphone, interpreter cannot hear.
Recently, there have been so many concerns arise around this term. Why the UK government is still not saying clear, right? For instance, like you won't be affected negatively, because yesterday they were this organization 3 million. They took a sort of like a protest.
Say that last thing again. 3 million what?
The organization 3 million. So they took the protest outside Westminster, saying that they are quite worried about the rights of EU nationals after the Brexit. That's one question. So is there any ground for them to worry about? The second one is on the white paper. The white paper states that you're going to control the number of EU migrants. What exactly does that mean? Is that a new implementation of quota system? Does that mean you're going to implement a quota system regards to their skill set? What exactly that means?
All right. But on the first front, I mean, the UK government has two important responsibilities. It has a moral responsibility to residents within the UK, whether they're Latvian or other EU citizens, and we take that very seriously. And we have a moral and legal responsibility to our own citizens abroad in the European Union. And we think the simplest way of dealing with this is dealing with it at the same time, and to be equally generous on both sides. And that's what we're trying to do. And we have raised this, as I say, at the December Council. We were going to raise it at the October Council. We just couldn't get that organised in time. And we have said time and again, and our Prime Minister has said time and again, that it is our intention to end up with a generous settlement for everybody. So people should take us at our word on that. In terms of the, and by the way, I understand why people worry. I understand if it's your life, if you are living in a country, you want to have certainty. And our aim is to provide that certainty as soon as possible. On the future migration arrangements, my job is to bring the decision, as it were, back to Westminster, back to the British government, back to the British Parliament to take control of it. But it is, people sort of assume that suddenly the door is going to slam shut. That's just implausible. If we operate our own migration policy, we will not operate it against our own national interest. You know, it stands to reason. What is our own national interest? Well, would we want the city not to have all the best brains in finance to be able to go to the city? Of course not. We want that to be open. We have a massively effective and strong university and academic and scientific sector. I mean, we have more Nobel Prize winners per head than any other country in the world, and we're second in absolute terms only to America. Why is that? Because we have an open and free access to our universities, whether it is at the professorial level, or the researcher level, or the student level. And you must expect that to continue. In terms of other specialty areas, in terms of small startup companies, in terms of all those things are to our advantage. So we'll continue. But the other issue, which is where the politics of this is, where the tension is over the very large numbers. And what I've been talking about are not big numbers, but we have something like 600,000 people in gross terms come to Britain a year, half of them from the EU, half from third countries. And many of them work in lower paid employment, in agriculture, in the hospitality industry, restaurants and hotels, in social care and welfare. We cannot, it is not plausible that we're suddenly going to stop that. It's going to be a process of gradual change as we try to get more of our own citizens to do some of that work, but that'll take some time. I said yesterday it'll take years. It's not going to be sudden. I think from the point of view of people who would like to come to Britain in the future, those opportunities are still going to be largely there. Because for as long as Britain's a growing economy, the jobs are going to be there. But we want to be able to control it ourselves, to be able to make that decision ourselves. But we'll make that decision in our own interest, which will actually, as it turns out, to be in everybody's interest.
Paldies, Maiks Koljārs.
Thank you, Mike Collier.
You joke that you're not walking in here with bags of cash to bribe everyone to back you in Brexit, but for the record, can you just state very clearly that there's not going to be redistribution of development funds from Africa and Asia channeled into projects in this region in order to get people on your side?
I'm not excuse me, I'm not the DFID secretary, but I didn't recognise the story I saw in the papers at the weekend. It just seemed to me to be wholly implausible. I mean, we have not started the negotiation yet, but that is not the way I think it's going to go.
Paldies. Vēl kāds jautājums?
Thank you. Other questions?
Well-respected immigration lawyers in the UK have actually raised concerns in newspapers like Independent and The Guardian and the Telegraph that UK government institutions are creating this hostility policy environment, actually raising the fears among EU nationals. What I'm interested in is also in a topic of EU nationals being removed from the UK. Mm-hmm. What are the reasons why EU nationals experience this sort of unpleasant experience?
Do you have examples?
Sorry?
Do you have examples?
Well, there is like a number...
I'll tell you why, because the foreign minister raised this issue with me 10 days ago, and we tried to find an example. And as you take
because
out,
there is a data protection, so these people cannot be revealed by names and surnames. And
well, inside the government, we would normally be able to find out. I mean, as far as I can find out so far, I may be wrong, but so far we can find out people who've been deported because of criminal offences, but people haven't been deported for any other reason that we're aware of.
Just for the record, I think we have raised this issue.
You raised it with me 10 days ago.
When I met my colleagues in the UK government. Also, our embassy is monitoring the situation very closely. So far, when you check kind of claims, you come up with conclusion that they are mostly untrue. We had a little bit spike of what I would describe as a hate speech after referendum. Yes, we had about 6 or 10 cases reported to our embassy. Not now. So from that point of view, what we can do as governments, and we had this agreement with you already in London, I can reiterate, if we have any kind of complaint submitted to our embassy, we will immediately inform British authorities and we will check. We haven't had those cases, frankly. I have heard somewhere around, but if you check, then frankly it's mostly a kind of hearsay at best.
Or a legitimate, a conflation of two different stories put together. What we have said, and I said it to the minister 10 days ago, but I've said it to other countries' ministers as well, is when these stories come up, when these issues are raised, bring them straight to us. We will not tolerate hate crime. We will not tolerate hatred of people. That's not what this is about, and we won't put up with it. Britain is a tolerant society. Britain is a society that is welcoming to people. That's why lots of people like to come to Britain, and we will not allow that to change.
Sorry, I'm talking about detention centers, and there is a number published in British media that this number has actually increased recently. So what are the reasons why EU nationals are being detained by police and then put in these immigration detention centers?
Well, you're going to have to give me examples. I can't just give you a general answer to a generality. You have to give me examples. Every time we try for the examples, we find, as the Minister says, that there's something that's not right with them.
Paldies. Paldies. Vislabāk.
Thank you.
That it? Oh, thank you very much.